Okay. All right. Well, it is time. Yep, 2 after the hour. I'll move a little slow so that we have some time for anyone else to pop in. But thanks everyone for joining. It's really nice to see everyone again. I think it's been a while. I've been in France for KubeCon with my coworkers, and it's been a little wild and good to be back. And of course, at the start of these, it's always best to go over a little bit of etiquette. So let's see here. Please do introduce yourself before speaking. Try to mute unless you're actively speaking. Cameras are, of course, optional. You have no obligation to show yourself. Questions anytime in chat or audio. However, if we do have a presenter and they express a preference, let's try to follow the preference of the presenter. And anyone disruptive will be removed promptly. We've turned off screen annotations, and our profiles will only show our names. Only hosts or co-hosts can share their screen, and additional co-hosts are always here to make sure that we can get rid of the riffraff. And if you're here, you probably typed in a passcode, and so we use those to secure these, and no renaming yourself. We've also disabled that as well. So if anyone wants to impersonate Nathan Boot, that will not be an option. Otherwise, thanks for joining us today. I've got a couple of announcements. If anyone here went to KubeCon in France, uh, we wanted to give a little shout out to KubeCon. I personally had a blast. It was the most crowded KubeCon, the most wild and frantic KubeCon I've ever seen. I've never seen so many people stuffed into a room. We gave away something like 1,300 t-shirts, and our marshmallow scented scratch and sniff stickers were an absolute hit. Everyone just loved those. Not as much as the pine, although I do love the pine scented ones. But the marshmallow scented ones were the clear winners in that regard. Don't forget that OpenSearch Con Europe is coming pretty soon in Berlin. Registrations are still open. I'm sure Chris is all set to, and he beat me to it, pasting that into the chat. Register whenever it's convenient for you. And, if you can, we're going to have a user group in Seattle on April 15th, and that will be just before we have a booth at the Open Source Summit North America, April 16th to 18th. That's at the Seattle Convention Center. We'd love to see you, love to have you come visit the booth and share what you're doing with OpenSearch, if you're how you're using it, what some of your use cases might be. At KubeCon, I had the pleasure of meeting some companies that are really doing some interesting things with OpenSearch. Even a company that was using LiDAR to map the bottom of the oceans to check for shipwrecks and crevices and whatnot. And they had some really interesting use case questions. So even if you don't end up behind a booth there, they're always worthwhile going to just to learn about what other people are doing. So we'd love to have people visit our booth at Open Source Summit North America and share what they're doing. And it's always neat to hear about those kinds of things. Today's agenda. Well, it looks like we have two presenters today. I wanted to thank our presenters for coming. Sure appreciate it. George Ksaba from Oracle is here, and is Julian going to be joining us today?
No, I'm going to be the sole presenter.
Okay. Well, I sure appreciate you coming today, George. We always value having presentations here. And then
Thank you for
also, we
having
have
me.
quite welcome, quite welcome. And also with us, we have Met Cole from InfiniLabs here to share his analysis plugins for OpenSearch. That I'm also excited to see that one. Uh, those are always good advancements to make so that we can find more truth behind our data easier. So I always appreciate those kinds of things. Let's see. Does anyone have any announcements they want to spit out before we get going with today's presenters, or should we just jump right into it?
I put a link for
Okay.
our user group meetup page. We'll have the announcement out there very soon about the Seattle location and details. We'll have it out there very soon. So watch that space. The link's in the chat.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I think we can take a lazy consensus here, meaning that silence is consent. So let's move on, and I will yield the floor to George from Oracle.
Thanks very much, everybody. And thanks, everybody, for joining us for this session. My name is George Chaba from OCI, and I'm going to attempt to share my screen. And hopefully, and please let me know if you see it in the right way.
Looks great.
Awesome. Thank you. So again, the purpose of this presentation is give you an overview of OCI's version of OpenSearch 2.11. And as you know, actually, we are actually OCI is collaborating with AWS on OpenSearch. So and actually, there are a couple of other members, of course, who are collaborating, but it's kind of a nice joint effort between these large, companies. And I am actually part of the PM team for OpenSearch. And basically, we kind of wanted to summarize. And again, what I would like to ask is if we could have the questions later, because I think I have a lots of slides to cover. And if you start, the conversation, then things will slow down a little bit. So ultimately, the goal here is to cover a couple of things. We are going to talk about a little bit of about LLMs. We are going to explain, and I'm going to explain how useful these can be, and also how we can improve, operational intelligence, or even the search, the semantic search with this new version of OpenSearch. So there are a couple of topics I would like to cover, and I think some of them might be a little bit more technical, but we kept it kind of at a high level, so it's not going to be too deep. So which is going to be easier to understand. So as you know, since I'm representing OCI, OCI is actually committed to open source, and as you can see, we have a number of open source products or services, if you will. Of course, I'm going to focus on OpenSearch today, but there are also, we have a service for Redis, and recently we also added PostgreSQL. So this proves actually OCI is really serious about open source technologies, which is good because it provides a better, better coverage for customers who want to actually utilize primarily open source products. But let's focus on OpenSearch today. So as you already know, OpenSearch is a version or a branch of Elastic 7.10, and it's very popular on the market. It's more than 500 million downloads. And what actually OCI did, we actually created kind of the infrastructure for our version of OpenSearch, which is actually the open source version. So basically, we automated a lots of tasks related to this service. So we provide, patching, security updates. We have, the capability to, and we actually do backups. We have HA configuration, and also we have a FIPS compliance version of the product. And again, the main focus of the presentation today is the 2.11. So actually, we started working on 1.2.x, but in this couple of weeks ago, we actually launched the 2.11 version of OpenSearch. So as you know, there are a number of use cases for OpenSearch, and basically they rely on information inputs, if you will, from different logs, messages, metrics, documents. But ultimately, if I have to summarize it, there are three main use cases, and I would call it three pillars for this new service. And I'm actually going to follow these three pillars through the whole entire presentation. So the first pillar is, I would qualify it as enterprise search. And enterprise search can be actually a wide variety of things. It can be basically an e-commerce website. It can be a document repository, or it can be application search. So this is, I would say, that search which is related to companies, different activities related to their content stored in either websites or internally. The second component or pillar, if you will, is observability. And observability is actually tied to basically, I would call it, even in the past, I think it's called operational intelligence. And it's about, making sure that I can make sure that my operations, my infrastructure is up and running, and I can troubleshoot any kind of issues with the infrastructure. And also I can trace different events and ultimately make sure that the uptime is met with my infrastructure. And ultimately, the goal here is to provide the best user experience with my infrastructure. And the third item is security analytics. In the past, we used to call them SIMs. Now it's security analytics, and it's basically about analyzing any kind of security-related events, correlate events, and ultimately make sure that from a security perspective, we have the right controls in place and we actually monitor the security environment and provide any kind of corrections if needed from a security perspective. So these are the three major, I would say, use cases for this service. So just an interesting, question. What if, we would actually could have a conversation with our data? That would be really interesting and cool. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit. How about if we could debug the applications very easily? And how about we can identify different security events and provide a solution, a remediation based on this problem. So ultimately, our goal is to address these kind of questions or requests from our customers' perspective. So the 2.11 actually came out a couple of weeks ago, and again, it has the three main areas I covered earlier as use cases. So basically, it covers different search technologies. So obviously, the most important is the semantic search. But actually, I'm not just talking about finding, a couple of characters in text. Actually, it looks for the meaning of the information which is being searched, and it also have the capability to have a conversational search. And at the heart of this whole thing is, of course, our vector database. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit more details in a second. But we have, of course, the capability to store these vectors in OpenSearch and use different methods to make sure that the incoming requests are being also converted into vectors and embeddings, if you will. And we can find the closest, so we can actually create a neural search based on this information. So this is basically part of the, I would say, the kind of the enterprise search component. The observability is ultimately is to automate the test to detect any kind of operational issues, and also trace the events and make sure that I understand what's going on from an operational perspective and provide any kind of remediations based on this information. And last but not least is, of course, our security intelligence or security analytics, if you will. And in this case, our goal is to look at different security events and ultimately look at what is the correlation, what is the potential correlation with these events, and ultimately identify really suspicious events and potentially remediate them or provide any kind of remediation advice. And of course, at the heart of this is we also have the capability to do natural language search. And again, I'm going to talk about the how we do that. And of course, I'm going to talk about the RAG pipeline and how can we actually communicate with our data, if we will. So just to give you kind of a historical check, we actually, everybody knows about AI. The classic AI was able to recognize patterns. And but with the generative AI, actually, I can create new content. And this is actually very cool because now I will be able to not only just detect things, but also generate new content. So for example, if I want to, I can actually have a conversation with my data. Just to give you kind of a very simplistic example about this, and I'm going to show some architectures at the end, but this is, I would say, kind of the basic, the most, the easiest picture which we can understand very easily. So basically what happens when the a question comes in, a search request comes in from a user, we actually into OpenSearch actually we transform that into a vector, and in OpenSearch we already transferred or transformed the text into vectors which are actually sitting there. And what we do is actually first we identify the closest vectors based on KNN or other methods, and ultimately we identify based on the question from the user what is the closest answer we can give. But we actually don't stop here. We can also send this information to a large LLM model, and what happens is in that case we can actually augment this information with some textual explanation. So we just don't get back like just an answer, a simple answer. We can also create a meaningful sentence and can answer the user's question. So this is cool about that. We are utilizing not only the vector search, but we also can utilize our GenAI service, in this case, Oracle GenAI service, to provide more meaningful answers, which are easily understandable from by our users. So just to give you some examples, when we actually do, lexical search, that was kind of the old way of doing search. We actually type in a word, and based on certain, pattern matching, we can identify certain, answers, if you will, based on the request in the text. Of course, in case of semantic search, is different because we can actually look at based on the question, we can also have and provide the meaning of the question. So instead of just returning a string which is similar to what we has, we also have actually a meaning. So for example, if somebody has a software developer question, then of course somebody can say, okay, there's some software developer profile I have, or actually in the case of a semantic search, we actually can show the actually more meaningful answer. So we can also say that, I have, some Python development skills. So actually I can answer with that, not only just say something, I have a profile as a software developer. So again, it's more sophisticated in that perspective. Just another example, again, in this case, sorry, I'm asking, when was the iPod first actually announced or released. And then in this case, what you see, actually, I can type in the question, and based on the semantic search and the RAG pipeline, and I'll explain it later, I will be able to actually answer the question in a meaningful way. And again, in this case, I'm assuming that whatever when I type the answer, actually, I'm looking at my vector database, which actually has my company's data. So it's not only a generic data like ChatGPT. Actually, this is very important to understand that here I'm actually looking at my private data, not only just the generic information. And that's why actually this is this version of OpenSearch is very crucial, because actually we can combine the company's private data with actually some generic data through LLMs. And the generic data, obviously, we already know them. It's basically ChatGPT or Cohere in our case, of course, and Llama. So again, this is a little bit different scenario. This is more about operational intelligence. And what's happening here is I detect some unusual behavior in my infrastructure. And I can actually ask this in a natural language, please identify what's going on, what's happening with my infrastructure. And it's possible that it's tied to the maybe some activities with the Black Friday. And then I can actually go in and say, okay, so tell me more about the metrics. Then we should actually show them the metrics for this specific use case. In this case, I will be able to present the system can present the metrics. And this is pretty cool because I will be able to see what's going on. But what I can also do, I can actually do a little bit further analysis. So based on the based on what I discovered so far, how can I go a little bit further and look at more information, what's happening in my environment. And ultimately, I come to a conclusion, which is I always come to a conclusion that, my, databases have some issues. And so basically, ultimately, it's possible that, my core issue in this case in my operational environment is about the databases, because they basically maybe underpowered, or they don't have enough, infrastructure, memory, or whatever, or CPUs, which can actually make the system slower in case of large workloads. When, for example, a Black Friday would be a large workload on my e-commerce side. So again, what I did is, so far, I just had a conversation technically with my data, with my operational data, and I was able to identify the problems much faster than I would do it if I would have to manually dig through logs. So again, it's ultimately helps with my productivity. Just going back to our 3 pillars. So actually, in this version 2.11, we have a number of new plugins, and these plugins actually, for example, the security analytics plugin it's actually not a plugin in itself, which is good because it's a well organized now, and actually I can for that specific use case I can use that plugin. But of course, I have other plugins which are related and used or actually by the service, and this is can be the ML plugins, the neural search plugin, and KNN plugin, which actually ultimately helps me to identify which vectors are closer in the vector search. And of course, there are some other infrastructure-related plugins. So in 2.11, we added lots of new plugins or organized plugins in a better way versus previous version of the service. So just to give you an example, so for example, for security analytics, again, as I mentioned, it's actually a standalone plugin. Now we have a unified interface. And also, which is really cool, that we also have a number of, actually, more than 2,000 out-of-the-box detection rules, and these are the Sigma rules. So I don't have to create my own rules. Of course, I can create my own rules, but ultimately, I can just select the rules I want to utilize to detect different security events. And I also have now a correlation engine, which ultimately helps me to identify what's the link between different security events, which ultimately helps me identify potential security issues in my security infrastructure. And of course, I can create alerts based on this, and I can also create custom rules if I want to. If I don't want to use, let's say, my predefined rules, I can also customize this much further. But ultimately, what it helps with is it can help me to quickly configure the security analytics component and start monitoring my security environment, if you will. Similar to that, actually, from an operational or observability perspective, now we have basically application analytics. So I will be able to identify issues in the application. And I have richer language support, where I can actually do this utilizing PPL language. And also I have the telemetry, open telemetry support, which is kind of standardizing all of the, data collection, the agents and everything like that, which actually allow me to collect the data. Ingesting the data into my operational intelligence side is also easier, because now we have different ways to ingest data, because I have predefined plugins which actually can help me to ingest the data much easier. And also we have the anomaly detection function, if you will. So again, I can identify what are the potential or potentially upcoming risks related to my operational system. Basically, I'm talking about the infrastructure primarily here. So again, this is our goal is to automate as many things as possible to make the configuration and monitoring process easier. So let me actually give you a kind of a quick overview of the how we work in the OCI infrastructure here. So basically, in this case, I have the big gray box in the middle is the OpenSearch service. So OpenSearch service, actually, basically what I do, I upload data, and when I upload data into OpenSearch, actually I create the vectors, embeddings, if you will. So when the question comes in, I can create basically a vector based on that question, and I can compare that based on KNN with the existing vectors. And let's forget about the right side for now. So I'm not going to talk about the RAG pipeline. So we can do this without the RAG pipeline. So basically, we don't have, in this case, we're just basically looking at answers and results in a very simplistic way. In the second architectural diagram, actually here, I'm going to do the same thing as I did before. I basically, I have my vector database. I also have kind of a memory where I can keep track of earlier content. But in this case, actually, what I can do, I can also go out and augment my search, in this case, the KNN search with the the OCI GenAI service, which actually has different large language models. So one of them is Cohere, and the other one, which was recently added, is Llama. So in this case, basically, instead of just looking at my answer, I can actually go out and create a meaningful answer with basically with kind of a conversational flavor, if you will. So I'm not just adding you, basically giving you the the answer just based on this private data. I can also actually augment this private data with external kind of a conversational type of activity. So this is more I would say easier to understand for the users, because they don't just get basically some information by the private data. That private data is also augmented with external data to make it more kind of user friendly and more understandable from a conversational perspective. And the third one is actually very similar, except this one is using our GenAI agent. So OCI came out with a GenAI agent fairly recently. And again, this GenAI agent has two LLMs. And again, this is right now is the Cohere, of course, and the Llama. And what's happening here is very similar to the earlier case, but here the request, if a user natural language request, actually goes to the OCI GenAI agent, and then for the company's private data, it goes back and goes into OpenSearch or other databases. So it's possible some other data, company data, resides in an Oracle autonomous database. So again, in this case, ultimately the OCI agent will provide kind of the basically how the actually how the requests come in, how I actually retrieve the private data, and ultimately how I add the kind of the external data to the answer and provide this to the end user. And again, this is again just another way to do that. It's very similar to the earlier case, but this use case covers when I have multiple data sets in the enterprise. So meaning I have some data in OpenSearch and some other data is in databases. In this case, I can handle this use cases. Most likely, of course, this data will be in OpenSearch because lots of textual data ultimately typically resides in OpenSearch or earlier versions of other systems like Elastic. But ultimately here, I just wanted to show that we have the flexibility also to retrieve other data sets from a company's perspective. One thing we also wanted to do, it's the service is very competitively priced, but what we wanted to do, we also don't charge for the first two data nodes. We wanted to make it easier for our end users to start utilizing the service. So we want to make sure that we don't obviously overcharge. We actually have very competitive pricing, and we also allow users to quickly start utilizing the service instead of we don't have a high entrance to the barrier. So this is actually kind of a user-friendly pricing. So so our recommendation, if you will, to you is let's bring all the data we have and combine it with AI. So it's going to be ultimately is going to increase our efficiency. It's going to help with DevOps or observability as the new name now. And it also has we have the capability to provide this service. It's a fully managed service, so there are no additional tasks to manage the service, or it's fully managed. So it's easy to utilize the service. We don't have to deal with the operational task of the service. And we also have a very user-friendly pricing, so it's easy to start. And of course, we have, from an OCI perspective, is we also have the OCI security built in, which is kind of a primary, one of the primary pillars in OCI to provide the best possible security possible on the market. So that was kind of the presentation. Again, if I would have to take away something, this OpenSearch 2.11 helps us to combine the company-specific data with external data, so we can have potentially meaningful conversations with our data, but we actually utilize our internal data, which is combined with external data. Thank you. I'm completed my slides. What should we do? Should we go to the next presentation now?
Yeah, I think it might be good if we were to stop for a minute, see if anyone has any questions about
Yes.
what was shared, or even just comments. I'd like to hear what people are thinking about this. That I personally think it's really cool that this is becoming such a common thing these days. And what gets me going is more of the novel uses for it. Like I can't help but wonder if like someday some video game company is going to vectorize the Dungeons and Dragons player handbook, and then all of a sudden we'll have all of these AI dungeon masters out there for the D&D people out there. Or there's all kinds of these things that could potentially be monetized by bringing sanity to all of the chaotic rules. And so this stuff, I enjoy it quite a bit. And I'm glad to see Oracle taking such a strong position in this kind of business operation.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's I think it's ultimately going to be a productivity tool for different use cases. Again, we focus on the 3 use cases, but again, I think it's applicable to much more. And it's going to help us to be more productive.
Yes, yes. Wonderful. Well, I don't think no one's raising their hand or speaking up, so I'm going to assume that means there are no questions.
I have one slight question. George, that was a great talk. Thanks for looking at this. Sorry, I'm Terry from SAS, by the way.
Oh, hi.
But we're looking in this area too of how to leverage all these technologies for our search. I did have a specific question about something in your slide earlier. Been looking up, and it's something been speaking to the security guys in OpenSearch about. Is that you said your search service was like fully FIPS compliant? Says in one of the pages.
Yeah,
And I know
yes, yes, yes.
I know it's a very specific question, but we've been looking into like FIPS compliance for the security plugin because there's some areas where it isn't. I was just wondering where I could get more information
Yeah, that's a
about
good
what
question.
exactly is meant by when it says it's fully FIPS compliant. Is it just at the endpoints? Or does it mean like the underlying algorithms as well? Like if you had to make extra changes, are you just using OpenSearch as is?
Yeah, it's actually fully FIPS compliant, and I have a site, but it's internal site where we list all of our compliance, and it's pretty long list. It's difficult to find things, but yeah, it's fully FIPS compliant.
Yeah, it's just so this is where I'm confused. So we're looking at like various algorithms in this security plugin area that aren't FIPS compliant.
Okay. Okay, I have to look.
I was just wondering what was meant by fully FIPS compliant, because no FIPS can be quite a wide-ranging term.
Yes.
As well.
So yeah, it's a good question. I have to look at exactly which algorithms we use. But before we even started OpenSearch, most of our services already had a FIPS compliant version. So that's why I'm assuming that we might already have some algorithms which were used earlier. So
yeah, it's just that the underlying code in the OpenSearch defaults to non-FIPS compliant algorithms.
Yeah.
Which is I don't know, like where would I be able to find out more, or would you be able to provide more?
Yeah, I can please, I don't know how this works, but if you could ping me an email, or actually the I think on the I don't know how to do this. There is maybe because I'm on member of the this community now. If you can just ping me there a question, that would be
okay. Sure.
I think just yeah.
Sure, that's great. Thanks.
If we want to, if I may, go ahead and post it to the agenda link on the forum. That way we can have a follow-up. That way everyone on the meeting can have the follow-up information. That would be great. And I
Sure.
posted the link to that in the chat. If Terry, if you want to post the question there, and then George can follow up with the answer.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you.
Sure,
That would be
lovely.
great. Yeah,
That's great. Thanks.
That'd be beautiful.
thank you.
And just to throw Oracle a little bit more traffic here, I couldn't help but notice some of this is summed up in a blog. If people want to give Oracle some web hits there.
Oh yeah, thank you. Definitely. That would be great. Yeah, please check out the blog. It's actually about 2.11, so it's specifically about this topic.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Any other questions in chat or audio?
Well, let's get on to medical.
Yeah, I think you're off the hook, George. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to stop sharing.
Okie doke. Medical, you're up.
Yeah, okay. So let me share my screen. All right, so I think you can see my screen. Yes?
Crispy and clear.
Perfect.
All right. Great. So my name is Matko, and first of all, good morning, good evening, and so you can find my handle here. So today my topic is around the analyst plugins. Just Chris talk about the agenda, and but I do think maybe I can share a bit more about what we build for the OpenSearch. So it's not just these three plugins. So we have more tools built for OpenSearch. And first of all, I need to think about the Infinite Labs. So we startup. So the company is called Infinite Labs, and actually we are a distributed team across global. By the way, we're hiring. If you are interested to join us, I mean, for search staff, your resume is welcome. And actually, we are developers, so we build stuff for developers and with heart. And especially the tools is around search. For myself, I'm a long-time Elasticsearch player since the very beginning, more than 10 years. And right now, I started the company to commit our efforts to make better search experience, to make things easier and smarter. So for more information, you can find from our site. And for the OpenSearch, we have several stuff, and a few tools is open source. For example, the analysis plugins, and we also have some free tools, like some for the management of the OpenSearch, or also including the Elasticsearch. So I will give some details in the further slides. So first of all, the analysis plugins. So actually, this plugins is first built for the Elasticsearch, and it's very popular. As you can see, there are many stars. It's quite a long history. It exists in the GitHub, and we recently opened for the OpenSearch, and we packaged the package, and so you can right now install the plugin easily by specifying the numbers by using the command list here. So for the analysis plugin, it's quite simple. I think it's just the you can go to the GitHub and get the details. And one more word about the analysis plugins is for the Chinese Chinese analyzers. So if you have some materials is in Chinese, you can try to use these plugins. So we have other tools, especially you can use to do other things like the benchmarking. So while we are building these tools, for myself, I am using the Israeli for a long time. to get the maximum throughput of the clusters. So, but each running is quite heavy, so you need to prepare a lot of things, and also is written in Python. So it take a long time to prepare to get the results. So our team we write the in vanillogene. So it's a tool very small and the performance is quite good and it's very fast. Generally, it can generate get the million of seconds, million requests per second on a single machine. So it's quite efficient. You don't need to get a very large clusters to generate the load to get the enough project to the clusters. And it's very lightweight in a single binary, so you don't need extra dependencies. And also, is one quite important thing to get the real world metrics is to tailor for your own use case. So our loading can support the your templates for your own document structure, and also you can craft your own query templates to search against the OpenSearch clusters. So there is also quite simple to install the tools. So there is one line command to download and extract it locally, and then you can start use the loading. So this is a screenshot of the some options provided by the loading. So you can see there's some parameters you can control how many concurrent threads, and also you can limit the CPU, can run the tasks, and also you can set the duration of the tests, and there are also some other options you can use. For example, this is the output of the benchmark test. So if I use the default parameters, it will like run only 30 minutes, 30 seconds. So just some quick result, but you can tweak the parameters like a long running period to get the very long term project. So another best practice is to use the monitoring tools to get the detailed metrics from the Elastic side, right? So you can work along with the loading to get the very complete details about the what's the maximum throughput of the clusters before you go to the production. So this is the loading. And another neat features about the loading is that you can use the tool to doing some API testing. So for example, you have some business and you write the DSL and you prepare some query DSL like the very complex search queries, but something changed during the development. Maybe the plugin changed the parameters or the higher version of the OpenSearch maybe change some behavior, you don't know. So how can you make sure the application is backward capabilities? So with this kind of API testing suite, you can prepare all the test case and with a very easy syntax, just like you did the in your DevTools in the OpenSearch dashboard. So this is a very simple example. I can see you can see the DSL file is quite simple, just like the Kibana OpenSearch dashboards. Just the command and the URL path. And also you can see there is a set rules. So the first line is the status code. So for example, I can also use the environment to pass along to this these files. So it's a dynamic and also is quite flexible. So this command will get some result from the OpenSearch, and you can also verify the result. For example, maybe this is I manually change to false because if all things success, it should be true, right? But I just want to verify the functionality of the loading, so I can use the loading to specify the DSL file. So as comments, each command is running in the order, right? So it's quite simple and intuitive. And the first thing is create an index, and then we create some documents into this index, and then we then refresh the index, and then we did the count, and then we did the search, right? We're doing some extraction, and we check the result, we check the statistical code, and also we check the specific JSON field in the response, right? And you can see the output of the loading. So this, you can say, it tell us the acknowledged is not equal to expected value, and actually it's true, which is right? Because the test manually changed the false value. So with this kind of testing field, you can prepare your own business test use case. Like, for example, you prepare your data, you prepare your query, and you verify the result. So when the OpenSearch or other application changes, we can use this kind of API testing to verify the things should be work as expected. So this is another little feature provided by the Loading. Hope this is kind of useful for the community. And we have other tools. It's called the Infinite Gateway. And this gateway is tailored for the search use case. There are many gateways out there, right? So like OpenResty, API.com, API6, and com. So why we do have a larger gateway, right? So this gateway is tailored for the search use case, especially for the OpenSearch and Elasticsearch. So we did a lot of things to, like the access control, and also we can use the gateway to decouple the application and the OpenSearch secrets. The application maybe have different security authentications, like the LDAP, but the OpenSearch can have a lot of different authentications. So these kind of two things are decoupled, right? For some security requirements. And also you can use the gateway doing some general, as routing or limited concurrent, or doing some request analysis. And we support many ways to filtering the requests, like the different context. And also you can use the gateway to request the search requests. So you can do some slow query analysis or some security auditing. And also you can use the gateway doing some routing, maybe some context you can use to forward the request to another cluster, right? Maybe you have some multi-cluster setup, some business is transparent to access the multi-clusters. You can leverage gateway to achieve this kind of requirement. And also you can use gateway doing replication, like where you have some primary and replica clusters, and the gateway can replicate all the writes to different clusters, and they can have different architectures, maybe different setup, different versions of the OpenSearch. So this is totally doable, and maybe you can use the OpenSearch work along with the Elasticsearch. We can use the Infinite Gateway to dual write to different clusters. And also you can use these kind of things to fall back to, maybe the primary cluster is failure, and we can fall back to the secondary clusters. And there are many other features. So it's kind of limited time to talk all details, but you can find all the use case in this link. We have many use case defined here, so you can get some reference how we can help by using the gateway. And also the installation is quite simple. Just use this command here, and you can download the gateway and running locally. So for example, we talk about the request analysis. So all the requests go through the gateway can be captured by the gateway. So you can get all the very structured logs, and then you can use that your favorite dashboard to get the insights from your applications level, right? Or the many different views requests, like from the user side, from the response time, or some traffic view. So it's quite easy to understand what's going on from the cluster level. So we just talked about the gateway, and we also have another tool called Infinity Console. So Infinity Console is like front-end management tool for the search clusters. Now it supports OpenSearch and all the versions also include the Elasticsearch. So this is a screenshot. And also in the installation is quite simple as well. Just one command to get the installation done. So if you have multi clusters, that will be much easier to manage all the clusters in a single panel. So the security feature is also available. You can control which cluster and for specific users, and which permission you can assign to this rule, and you can have read and write separation. And also you can define the index level permissions. So it's multi-tenant platforms for your organization. So this is the security feature, and also there are other features you can use with the Infinity Console. For example, the monitoring. I think there are many monitoring solutions out there, like Grafana and Prometheus, and also OpenSearch provides some tools, right? But why do we still have a lot of tools to doing this? Because we operating clusters ourselves, and we found some features is not out there. So we just developed our tools to get the better metrics and easy to monitoring to get insights from the clusters. So we have some specific different features like shadow level metrics, and also we have support both the agentless metrics collecting and also with agent to collect the logs and metrics, also the metadata. So why do we need an agent if we support agentless? Because if we use agent, we can have additional features like during the cluster patch failure, we can use agent to collect the metrics and save locally. And then once the cluster is back, we can then continue to save the metrics to the cluster. So we don't miss any metrics even during the patch failure. Sometimes you get the cluster problems and also the metrics is lost, right? This is quite painful during the diagnose. So we fix this by install agent in the host level. So there are many other features. So I just want to think maybe I can do some quick demo after that. So this is a screenshot of this console. You can see we support many clusters in a single panel. And also we can switch different clusters easily in this job list. And also we have some metrics, and you can switch to different angles of the metrics view. Another thing need to maybe you interested is that we have some activities view, so you can understand what's going on in the very like top level, so the class level. So some node may be lost, some setting may be changed, and which cluster is become red. So the quite important changes will capture during the platform level. So you can get a quick glance about what's going on and what you need to do first. So this is activities across the cluster level. And also we improve some things about the develop tools. So we can run the DSL just like OpenSearch dashboard or Kibana, right? And we can run SQL directly, and we can save and load the frequently used comments, so you don't need to copy and paste from next notepad or some other as well. So this is a screenshot of these DevTools. As you can see, we can use the hotkey to spin up the DevTools in any page. Sometimes maybe you just go through the dashboard and you want to doing some queries, so you can just spin up the DevTools and doing some search or some other manipulation of the data, right? And it's also support the mark tables. You can go through the different clusters quite easily. And also you can see we can directly select a scene from the index. So this is quite easier to access SQL commands, SQL features. We also have some pro features like alertings. So it's advanced alerting features compared to some other alerting solutions. We support some email templates, and we also have some more options to configure alertings. If you have agent installed, you can get the real-time logging with node level. So you don't need to log on the server and then tail the logs. So we did this by using agent. So it's quite easy and simple to quickly get the logins from the node level. So all the things I talk about is free. So you can take on and try it at your server. So this is some tools we built for the OpenSearch community. There is also online demo. You can try it out. So this free. This is read-only users. Just OpenSearch. You can log on by access this website. Another thing I want to mention is this free tools is quite lightweight. So without any extra dependencies. So this is the kind of the small footprint of these kind of tools. You can say is less than 20 megabytes. So just download and ready to use. Yeah, so this is the slides I want to go through. Yeah, but maybe I can use a few seconds to go through the online demo. Second. Yeah, so this is the online demo just mentioned. You can quickly go through the different OpenSearch clusters. It's quite easy and well organized. So many other metrics you can use to leverage the different group of metrics. It's quite comprehensive, I think. Also, if you have agent installed, you can get them shared level metrics. Sometimes, it's quite important to get the very details about which metrics cause the bottleneck, right? So this is very detailed metrics you can get. Also the activities. So you can see there are many high level activities. So maybe this index we just created, and maybe we delete some index, or some clusters change the red from to yellow, right? Oops. Okay, some network issues. We have some simple dashboard features. So, for example, we talk about the request login analysis. So, if you are using the Infinite Gateway to capture the requests, so you can get the insights about the application side traffic. Because this is kind of like the real world metrics you can use to detect performance. If you, for example, you can use the slow logs generated by the OpenSearch loads, right? But it is at the load level, so it's not the real users the logs, right? So maybe you will missing some critical informations. But if you capture the from the OpenSearch before the OpenSearch and the application, it will get actual metrics. So this is some dashboard that we can use, and also we have some improved discovery features, so you can quickly go switch to the index. You don't need to predefine the index patterns. It's kind of tedious, right? Because sometimes you just want to check the data inside the index, right? And you don't want to use the dev tools to execute query. Just want to exploring the data. So this is kind of neat. And for the alerting features, for example, maybe you can get quick view of how the alerting is executing, and extraction. I just want to going quite fast. Some channels we support built in, so you don't need to configure from the very beginning. We enabled the template, so you can just use directly. And also you can, for example, I just spin up this class DevTools. So maybe we can open a new tab, and maybe I want to reuse some comments I did before. So we just doing this. So it's quite simple and convenient, right? You can some other features, maybe I don't have time. Some maybe migration from the different clusters, and also you can compare the different cluster index from different clusters. So it's quite easy to go through the check the different index. And also I talk about the logs, the real-time logs. So this is quite a neat feature. You can just select the load and then get the logs without log to the server, right? And also you can tell and with the latest like that. So yeah, I think this is most of the features bring by the Infinite Console. Yeah, so this is all I want to sharing to you guys. So maybe some questions. Yeah.
Thanks, Nedcole. Yeah, now's probably the time for questions if anyone has any. We always appreciate the demo option, like when you have a website with a live demo, that always goes over well when people can click and see on their own what it's like. So thanks for making that available to us.
Yeah, that looks really
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, great demo.
Okay. Yeah. All right, this is what I have, and thanks for having me, and I'm done.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
I think we are at time. Let's see. I think next Tuesday after next will be at 3 p.m. Same time, different time, same bat channel. And I went to a wedding the other day, and it was so wonderful that even the cake was in tears.
Nice. That's a good joke. I like it.
Wonderful. I
Sounds
always
like
shout with a bad joke.
Hey Nate, was the cake cold or was it ultra warm?
oh,
The tears.
It was a tiered ultra warm. Wonderful.
that's fantastic.
Excellent. Okay, well, don't forget to join us 2 weeks from now at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we will do our best to provide you with presenters and demonstrations, and if none are available, we will have an open mic.
See y'all then. Thank you.